So My Hero Academia Chapter 424 is finally out, and with it, the story picks up a few days after the events of the previous chapter. That's right, the war is over and we're now in the final moments of the series. Here we are once again introduced to the weather woman Meryl, who live on the air apologizes for getting the previous weather forecast wrong, stating that the bad weather is gone and finally cleared up. However, she also notes that everyone should take care when washing their clothes, as although the rain has gone away, there still is a strong wind in the area. Which is not only symbolism for the changing of times, but actually a side effect of Midoriya's final punch on All For One. That's right, Midoriya punched All For One so hard it actually affected the weather in America. The story then briefly cuts all across Japan, where we see that not only have foreign heroes finally shown up and are now helping in the efforts to rebuild the country, but we see the likes of Cementos and some UA students helping out in rebuilding as well. Also, there is this one panel by itself that has this image of this hero, who, if I'm not mistaken, looks awfully like Koichi Himawari, aka the crawler and main protagonist of the My Hero Academia Vigilantes spin-off. Is it true? Is it finally him? Does our boy finally have an appearance in the main series? Is our pure baby boy finally him? But anyways, as we cut across multiple images of heroes helping out, and after an interviewer reveals that thanks to the help of quirks, the process of rebuilding everything shouldn't actually take that long, hooray! The story jumps on over to Central Hospital, where we see Bakugo all bandaged up in a hospital bed with his parents beside him, as the Yoshi-looking doctor informs him and us that his arm has suffered too great of an injury to be repaired, and it will never be the same again. In fact, the injuries on Bakugo's arm are so severe that not only did it take multiple surgeries just to get it back looking like an arm again, but the doctor suggests that if Bakugo still wants to be a hero, the best course of action for him would be to remove it entirely and replace it with a robotic arm similar to that of Mirko's. Damn, his arm got messed up! However, despite the doctor's recommendation, Bakugo refuses this procedure, stating that his quirk comes from his arms, and so if he were to remove them, he would be losing a part of his quirk. And also that he has no need to push himself any further, as he no longer needs to compete with Midoriya, who no longer has a quirk. And so Bakugo decides that instead he is just going to put all of his focus on using rehab to try and heal his arm the best he can. The doctor, in hearing this, tells Bakugo that that's okay, but if he is going to do this, he can only do light exercises, as not only is his hand at major risk of another serious injury, but so is his heart, as the doctor explains that if it wasn't for Edgeshot, there is no doubt he would have died from his injury. And he honestly has no idea how Bakugo managed to keep fighting and travel as far as he did with a wound like the one he had. It's an absolute miracle he's still alive. God does work in mysterious ways. Following this conversation, we then cut on over to another room in Central Hospital, where we see Midoriya recovering from all of his wounds in the same room as All Might. Like father, like son, am I right? Here, All Might notes that them being in the same room together must have been Tsukuuchi's doing, as Midoriya goes on to tell All Might that not only has the feeling in his arm started to return to him, but also that he's upset that in the end, he couldn't save Tenko Shimura. Despite all of his best efforts in trying to save the little boy and bring Shigaraki out of the darkness, even in his final moments and after everything he'd been through, Shigaraki refused to stop being the leader of the League of Villains. But in response to this disappointment, All Might just asks Midoriya how Shigaraki's face looked in his final moments. And as Midoriya remembers their final words to one another, it's revealed that after Midoriya said, "You've already destroyed it," Shigaraki gave one more reply to our hero, with a smile on his face saying, "That'll depend on what you guys do from now on. Good luck." And with this memory in mind, Midoriya informs All Might that in Shigaraki's final moments, he no longer saw the crying boy within him, and thus he can assume that in the end, his heart was saved. All Might then goes on to say that he sensed Midoriya passed on One For All to Shigaraki too, which he explains probably helped to transfer Midoriya's feelings to the villain, helping him to understand Midoriya's true intentions. And Midoriya tells All Might that yes, he did in fact transfer One For All to Shigaraki before he passed away. However, it's also here where he admits that despite his last attack on All For One, he actually still has some of the quirk's embers still burning inside of him. And as if on cue, as soon as Midoriya says he is technically not quirkless yet, Bakugo bursts into the room despite his family's protests, shocking everyone. However, instead of the usual explosive and loud Bakugo we have come to love and expect, in seeing Midoriya lying in the hospital bed, and after everything they've been through together, memories of their shared past begin playing in Bakugo's mind. From the time they were kids unwrapping All Might's trading card, all of the times Bakugo bullied Midoriya, all the way to their second fight, these memories flash one after another in Bakugo's mind. Before tears begin to fill his eyes and he starts to break down and cry. Midoriya, in seeing Bakugo cry, is immediately and completely taken off guard and left shocked looking at his friend, as Bakugo, still teary-eyed, explains that he's been reflecting and lamenting on everything he's done to Izuku. And now, after everything, what he really wants is to be able to continue competing with him for a long time. In hearing these words, Midoriya himself also starts to well up with tears. And as the two boys remain emotional, All Might starts to speak, stating that the two of them have become stronger and have changed so much since the first day they met. Midoriya became his greatest hero the moment he ran, but now he's also the greatest hero to everyone else. And Bakugo, after everything he has done to prove himself worthy of being a strong hero and that he's not a failure, managed to be the one to save All Might's life. And it's because of this change and the heroes they are today that allows All Might to officially tell both Midoriya and Bakugo that the two of them are the greatest heroes. And as All Might thanks them both, Midoriya and Bakugo's tears fade away and are replaced by glowing smiles. And with this, a narration starts explaining that when Midoriya was a child, he thought that the world automatically returned to a state of peace when a war ended. However, this isn't the case, and their story isn't over just yet. As we see images of both Todoroki and Ochako healing from their wounds, not looking as happy as our two heroes, as well as this mysterious image of what looks to be shells, before the story cuts away one last time to the outside of a currently being rebuilt UA, where we see Midoriya with a new hairstyle thanks to his injuries, walking with his fellow classmates in uniform. As the narration informs us, they still need to create their bright future. They need to go beyond. And that's it for chapter 424. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more content like this, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. It's lunchtime.